Hey everybody, Stacks here. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today I have for you Xmen number 11. It's an Empire tie-in, and we'll get right into it. But before we do, you guys know the deal. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button. Prepare to leave a like, and of course, make sure you comment down below, guys. Any comments, everything you do to interact with the channel definitely helps the channel continue to grow, and I appreciate that. So this issue begins on Krakoa, where you have Rockslide, Loa, and Anul, who are coming through the woods, and they've noticed the summoner sitting there in the middle of this clearing. And while they're just kind of generally discussing how creepy and weird he is, he just greets him and invites him in. And he invites them to play this game, and as he's explaining it, and as Rockslide agrees to play, suddenly the Cotati invasion comes to Krakoa. Before you get into the story about the actual invasion and the fight that is about to ensue, you get a couple of interesting white pages about how the mutants are starting to establish some, especially after dealing with all these different fights and all these different asymmetric threats they've been facing, they finally start working on how to maximize their effectiveness by conjoining mutants. How if you had two power sets that were very complementary, how they could be used in an offensive or defensive situation on the island. And right after we find out that Bishop is essentially establishing and teaching the first mutant war college, is when we jump to the invasion itself, and we get the row of Magneto helmets. And Magneto meditating as somebody, Magic and Gorgon actually, come busting in, yelling at him, telling him, look, we have incoming, some kind of large incursion. It's huge, and it's making a beeline for Krakoa. And while he gets some of the quick details about what's going on as far as the telekinetic defenses going up, the network being laid down, he gets those details, and then he finally asks, where's Cyclops? Of course, last we heard from Cyclops, he had taken the Summers family plus Wolverine off to a Shi'ar resort and was hanging out there. However, Vulcan back on the moon was holding off any Cotati offensive by himself, going full-blown fire in my belly style. Well, between these three, the decision is made that Magic and Gorgon will take the offensive to the moon, where the Cotati are using as a staging area, and Magneto will stay here on Krakoa and lead the defense. And oh, what a glorious defense it is. First of all, he dons the old school Brotherhood purple and red, and then he just starts absolutely obliterating these aliens. He commences an absolutely laying waste to just thousands of Cotati that are attacking, and manages during this attack to find one of the cuckoos and rescue her, and he hooks in basically to the network to Sage, and starts getting those battle updates. And what we find out is that Sage has hijacked basically an entire satellite network, including military satellites, weather satellites, everything, and she's getting all kinds of different feeds for what is going on there on the attack. The biggest piece of information she gives about that is that whatever is going on the moon, it seems to be slowing this offensive. We also find out that Black Tom is laying waste in his own way, and that to the north of the island, you have Iceman and Storm who have linked up and are working their combination. The two Omegas just tearing into some Cotati up there as well. And finally, and probably most interesting, you have Magma, who is standing ready to erupt a volcano in order to decimate one of the ships that's present. Well, she's standing by and says, look, do you want me to blow it or not, boss? And he says, well, we can't blow one on Krakoa. I asked you to locate a remote main about a month ago. Did you ever do that? And she's like, oh, I got one about 12 miles from here. You want me to use it? And he says, go ahead and blow it. Just let's not create a ecological disaster here. Just be careful with it. And she just flames up and says, oh, I'm very excited about the possibilities here. And he says, as am I, child. And she goes to work. So with the eruption in place, Magneto uses one of the cuckoos to reach out to Bobby Drake and says, hey, Bobby, or actually it says Robert, I need you here. Magma's bringing about 20 tons of liquid iron to the surface. I need you to lend me a hand and cool it off for me a little bit. And Bobby's like, no problem. It might be a little brittle though. And Magneto, with the line of the century for this, says, oh, broken metal with sharp edges. Whatever will I do with that? And your next shot is Magneto just ripping through whatever is left of this Cotati army until we get to this scene with the general, who is snapping Toad's neck and trying to find out who is doing this, who is laying waste to his army. And as he sees someone who he knows personally, that he trained, he asks, who dares do this? Well, Eric just responds, I dare. You're clearly in command here, so I'm offering you a gift. Order your men to leave and never return. Do this and you can save them and save yourself, friend. Well, it's at this point that the general just has to tell us how wrong Magneto is, and that he has no idea who he's dealing with, of how many worlds he stood upon victorious, and how much meat he's destroyed and killed and put in the ground to feed on for, the plants basically. And while we get a page of him talking about it, Magneto's working on something himself. So as the general says, so if you want to fight me. Magneto simply replies, I already have, and I've already won. And then he drops a satellite on him. And well, that satellite should have been enough, but it explodes and the general's still standing there. So as the smoke and debris from that first one is starting to clear, Magneto drops another one on him. And then a third one. And then provides instructions to make sure that they reach out to the representative governments of those satellites and provide payment for them. Except, of course, for the secret military ones that he dropped on him. If they ask about those, make sure we tell them we have no idea what they're talking about. And with this general taken care of, Magneto's done playing. He asked for the closest gateway to the moon, and he fully intends to go in this whole episode. Well, as Magneto steps through the portal, it turns out that the Summers family actually, I guess, ended vacation early and came back. But Magneto steps through with a whole lot of help. He brings Bobby Drake and Storm with him. So that combination is going to team up again, and I'm assuming completely lay waste to this Cotati force. Magneto, he ain't playing anymore. These guys don't have a chance. The invading force that was coming from the moon, they're done. And that's it for this issue. One of the interesting parts is it had a piece with Exodus. Once again, around the campfire, talking to the kids. Very much kind of that indoctrination style, where he's talking about being a hero and what a hero does. It's an interesting point. It's an interesting storytelling tool that Hickman's been using with Exodus, and the way that they're raising these kids to believe in what they're building here on Krakoa. There's another part that Francis Leinil, I really feel like did a good job on the art in this one. He does really good with I think the Cotati stuff. He managed to merge that in really well. He did really good, I think, with Magneto as well. Throughout this whole thing, there was one panel that it was kind of just messed up. It had Cyclops and Wolverine fighting down on the planet. So basically you had some conflict there between the dialogue and the art. Overall, this was a good issue. This is honestly what I was expecting to get out of Giant Size X-Men Magneto #1 when I cracked it open. If I'm going to say one thing negative about this, it's that we had Magneto pulling his full flex, and we didn't get a 2-page spread showing him absolutely devastating the entire battlefield and on a large scale. You got these really tight shots of him laying waste to small portions of it, but I'd have loved to see him laying just everything down within, quarter mile of himself, and just a storm of metal flying around. But that's just my wishful thinking. Overall, it was a good book. I would recommend picking it up. Of course, Jonathan Hickman was your writer on this one. Lionel Francis Yu was your artist. And Sonny Go was your color artist. But guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. If you haven't yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button. leave a like, and comment down below. I hope everybody's having a good week. That's all I got this week, guys. Take care. Real Comic Stacks. Out.